Awesome.
Very cool.
We're not pissed at One Piece. We're pissed at you.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm Jack.
It's time.
And welcome back to Pissed Pirates.
Holy
and I'm
shit.
joined by Shaybs,
Yeah.
my co-host.
And you just read the latest chapters.
We literally were supposed to start recording 40 minutes ago. I thought there was I thought I was 2 chapters behind. I was actually 6 chapters behind. So
yeah, since you hadn't read it until, since last recorded or whatever.
yeah,
But that's great. That's
I
great because it just means your impressions are fresh.
Dude, it's so fresh. Because I hadn't read, I think, since the last time we recorded, or I think I read one chapter.
Yeah. Oh no, you did because the
'cause-
last chapter we did when we recorded was when Saul and Robin reunited.
Yeah.
And
so
then-
there's
and then
one
you-
chapter after that, I think.
Yeah, and you read 1134 and you told me you hated it.
Yeah, no. It literally, dude. No, because I had
Yeah.
the One Piece therapy last time, and then the next
Right.
chapter came out, and I messaged Shapes instantly. I'm like, bro, we gotta do a podcast now. I'm pissed. I'm like, actually, dude, it pissed me off so much. I'm just.
Yeah.
This is the
It
most
did like
negative.
it did like everything. It did almost everything that you don't like. about-
Yes, it did. No, dude, it like undid everything. Like I was,
Oh.
and I'd like to say, after reading the chapters after that, I'm definitely more positive. But it's.
But no, the shock initially is so funny.
It's
'Cause
annoying.
it hit every single button.
Like you can't, dude. Like you can't even.
My notes for it was like, because I was going through all that. I'm like, what are the major beats? And I'm like, okay, Angie's introduced, parentheses, Jack's mad. Ripley's introduced, parentheses, Jack's mad. Mosa and Shaggy talking to, the Den and Mushi talking to Loki, Jack's mad. God Knights, Shanks, Jack's mad.
Jack's mad.
Oh, and then
Vegapunk
obviously
is
that's the
going
same with
to survive.
the Vegapunk clone, and maybe Kuma as well.
Bro, I'm gonna blow
Very
my
funny.
brains out, bro. It's the Vegapunk thing I think pisses me off the most.
Oh, sure. We
that-
don't really know where he's going with that. I really don't know where he's going with that. So the jury's out for me on that one.
I'm just like, you can't, like, you have. This
You
big
can't do that.
You can't do it. You can't do that, Oda. Like he can't. He should. It should be illegal for him to do that.
Not a good idea.
Like, don't bring him back.
I sort of see it. I'm not giving an excuse because I still don't really know what he's doing. Because it is interesting that he kills Vegapunk, but then he has like the brain, and Mars says, "What's death to something like this?" And his satellites are still active and around, and then they get picked off one by one, and then it turns out they're all still conscious or around, just hosted in one body, and they don't seem connected to Vegapunk to Lilith at all.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, okay, but then they kind of fucked off into the sky with Punk Records. They don't seem to have like a connection to the world, and no one really knows that they're there besides, I guess, the weather people.
They'll come back in like fucking last arc or something.
Yeah, maybe or whatever. Maybe something. But so it's like, okay, so like Lilith is kind of her own thing, and that's great. But then this chapter, they're like, what's this thing you wanted us to bring with us that like we had not been privy to at all until now? And they're like, oh yeah, that's a clone of me, a perfect
clone
version of the
Remember
Stella.
the stakes from the last arc when I did that giant message and then it changed
Yeah.
the world, and then I died, and it was very dramatic.
Yeah, I sacrificed myself for in order to trigger the message because he tells Sanji, he's like, by the way, I changed my mind. I don't want you to say it to me because I think me dying is gonna trigger something important.
Right? Like that. It detracts from the entire countdown.
Sure.
That whole speech, because he did it, but he's still alive. Oda. What's going on, bro?
And that's what sort of the door that he's kind of left open for it, that makes it like not a complete negation, not like a complete like death reversal, is the fact that this clone is the version of him from 20 years ago that visited Elbaf. So it's sort of similar to, again, that flashback of like everything that led up to the message and everything.
Yeah.
When he reverts his memories to make sure York doesn't know that he's recording this message and everything. It's like that part with with him like reading the message afterwards. He's like, I'm supposed. Yeah, he feels like a completely different person when he has those memories messed with. But at the same time now, and again, I think it's again with more chapters having come out, they have to kind of settle roots there, and it'll be kind of at some point maybe Vegapunk would whatever, but also like I think it's going to be more of a resolution thing. But also the fact that like the God Knights are probably heading for the school and the library right now because they're targeting the kids.
Good.
So I think that's a great source of tension.
Those kids deserve to die. So.
Right.
I'm glad Shanks' fucking pussy boy brother is gonna murder some children. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Anakin Skywalker, some shit.
Oh man, yeah, no, I get it. I understand that it's obviously not the exact same person. It's just, I guess, like memory-wise and like maybe the way they act and like how they know Luffy, but it's still the same person. It's still triggering. It's still triggering, and it sets a precedent. Like I was honestly more triggered for Kuma saying like, you could bring my dad back, and I'm like, oh, like it's just at this point with Kuma, he's been brought back so many times. I'm like I'm not even fazed by it at this point. Like obviously, like he's never gonna die. Like he'll never die. I guess he's like had like 5 death scenes in the fucking show.
Has he?
I
thought it was just the
hyperbole.
Sure.
I don't know how many. It's been like 2 times.
Yeah.
At least, I guess.
I think it's the one. I think it's just him. I think it's just like, he is Kuma himself as himself all the way up to the point where his memories get completely shut off and Vegapunk does that and he's crying and everything and he's like, oh, tell Bonnie a happy birthday. That's his death. I'm just thinking in terms of like most of like his appearances. They're like, oh, Kuma's, he's barely human. He's gonna die. He's gonna die. Like most of his appearances in the story are him like basically not alive. From what it feels like. That's interesting. Because it's not really the case we don't know anything about his situation with Thriller Bark. Like, we hardly knew anything about him, that whole arc, really. It's really just a mistake. But it is true where he's like, I don't have much time left. Or is like, and then it's repeated again in Return to Sabaody or Fishman when you realize that he was protecting the ship and everything. But that's all referring to his death that, quote unquote, that happens in the Egghead flashback with Vegapunk shutting off his memories in it. And they talk about that. Frankie talks about that in Return to Sabaody, like that's what happened to him. Mm-hmm. And what Doflamingo tells Eva during Marineford, like, this is not the Kuma you know. Yeah. Kuma is dead. And he is, because by the time it happens between Sabaody and Marineford. I guess that's what I mean, right? Like, it's been brought up so many times. His quote-unquote death, right? And then, whatever, like, after his memories are shut off, he runs to go get his little daughter. Then he dies again, quote-unquote, but actually no. What's happening to Kuma right now is very unknown. Because, they don't, not even Vegapunk or Saturn know why he's moving right now. Just straight up do not know why he is able to function. It's the power of fucking love, bro. Oh yeah, that's what Vegapunk says, and that's fine. That's cute. I like it, but it is like ever since he took that knee, he punched Saturn, took a knee, hugged his daughter, he has not moved, not one bit. But they haven't really addressed that. They haven't said anything about Kuma. They've really just kind of cut back to him sometimes with like his body or whatever. Yeah, I think I remember you saying this. But like, there hasn't. Like, I think we talked about this last time. Probably. And I think, I get what you mean. They just haven't like Oda hasn't made a statement on it. Yeah, they're not clear about it. And I think there's a possibility that God Knights mess things up to the point where that might not actually happen. Yeah, it's just like a hope for Bonnie, and it doesn't really happen. Yeah, maybe. I just hope. So my hope is that Oda becomes like Araki, and then he forgets that he said the stuff about Vegapunk and Kuma, and then he just lets them stay dead, and then like they could be like remembered as like really sick characters that made like really cool. Yeah, with the consequences, because he says, I know that the choice that I made here has consequences, and that's when he gets stabbed. Yeah, so, like those consequences have to matter. If so there needs to be something actually lost here. Yeah, exactly. This idea that he what kind of ending that Oda wants for this story, of how happy an ending he wants for the story.
I'm looking at my fucking notes because I think I made notes whenever I read chapter 134, 1034, and I was like, Shanks is back. He's evil. And then I looked on Twitter that day and I said bad twin theory. His evil twin.
And it sounded ridiculous.
Wanks. His evil twin wanks. He's an evil man.
I like Stabs. My favorite pet name was Stabs.
I can't believe his name is Shamrock Shake, bro.
Yeah. It's funny. It's good.
What the fuck is
Garling Shamrock?
Shamrock Shake, bro. Shamrock Shanks.
That, yeah. No, but I said a dumb thing in my reaction because I'm like, maybe his hair's green. I'm like, no, he's. I was a fucking idiot. But I corrected myself later. I'm like, no, that doesn't make any
that would be
sense.
fucking awesome. I want that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It would be funny. It would also just would it make sense for the flow of information because they're hiding the eye and they're hiding the arm. Until his full reveal, that's not Shanks.
Yeah, right? and Loki's like, you look exactly like Shanks, so it's.
They acknowledge it. He's for sure. It's not like a reader thing. We're completely different people. I'm just gaslighting you.
Yeah.
But this was getting into what I'm thinking, where you're not very in tune with the community unless you want to be.
Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm in tune with the community at all right now. I just saw that one. Theory of Shanks having a twin.
But then once you looked it up, or once you kind of looked into it, right?
Yeah. I think I was just scrolling Twitter or something.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Something like that.
Because for me, it's being in the community as much as I am with following certain people and being in certain discords or whatever. A lot of these reveals that Oda is doing, I think, would be a lot more effective if I wasn't in this community, because they are so. They cover all possible bases and all options. And there's debates of whether he is a clone or whether he's a twin. And we had a feeling that there was something like this before this God's Knight reveal in 1134 because of the silhouette in way back when, during Vegapunk's message, it's all a matter of who finds the One Piece. And it's the Yonko as well as 8 different characters. And there's only one character in silhouette. And it's a guy with a sword. So people were like, it's evil Shanks.
Oh my god.
Because it's a longer standing thing of where does Shanks stand in the story in terms of being a bad guy, being a rat is kind of a fun popular thing. It stemmed from his meeting with the Gorosei.
Yeah. And it makes sense now that he was able to meet with the Gorosei because
if that's actually him or if that was Shamrock. And then it's and so then when this happened, everyone's like, my goat's cleared of the allegations of of being a rat. Although I like that Oda kept the possibility open because Shamrock says my brother did go back to Mary Joa once.
Wait, so are people thinking that the one time that whenever Shanks went to the Gorosei, that was actually Shamrock Shake?
Yes, because you don't see his scar.
I'm on some Nate level retcon shit, bro. I'm gonna blow my brains out. That is fucking brain dead, dude. Oda, you on some fucking Legend of Korra shit for that, bro. If that's
true,
it's
incredible foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing, bro.
Right.
There is no foreshadowing there, bro.
He's got a similar cloak.
I think it makes more sense for Shanks.
I like it to be Shanks too. To be fair,
I want it. I feel like it makes sense for Shanks because he is a celestial dragon.
Yes.
He has the blood of it. So.
And also just that him being a Yonko, I think that having some say in what's going on, and whatever we don't even know whether that's Shanks or Shamrock. We still don't know what that conversation was about.
Right.
We know it was about a certain pirate, but we don't know who. We don't even we have no idea what that scene was really for.
Yeah.
So it's still, the jury's still out on it, really. But it's stuff like that, it's these unanswered questions that have been long-standing for a while, and people were hyping up Loki before his proper introduction happened. So I was kind of belly aching about it, seeing that because people were really excited for him when I'm we don't know fucking anything about him, guys. He's not a character. What is there to be excited about?
The dick riders are too strong now. They're
it's
a little much. And I just want to say there's no evil version of Shanks. Shanks is already evil. He abandoned his daughter on that island, bro. You know what I mean? He
Well, that
abandoned her.
yeah.
You know,
Well, that gets into a very interesting thing that happened in 1138. That's not just the mural thing, which we'll get into. I would like to get into.
Yeah.
I laughed so hard at Luffy being like, "But Shanks is a cool guy."
dude.
He'd never do anything like that.
Dude, I'm thinking about it the entire time. I'm like, Luffy, he abandoned his little daughter, bro. He just kind of left her to die and to rot, I guess. And it's
well, think about what he just did to Bartolomeo.
Oh, true, yeah.
Like, and all his appearances since Luffy saw him in chapter 1 have been appearances that we as a reader or viewer has seen, and he often looks kind of menacing, like really intimidating. He's not like a squeaky clean guy, but that's all Luffy sees him as.
Exactly,
Luffy only remembers him as what he was like in chapter 1, where he distinctly remembers how Shanks reacted to that guy, the mountain guy, throwing a beer at him and whatever. It's like, oh, they got your ass, and he's non-confrontational unless he hurts one of his friends.
Exactly.
And Luffy takes that throughout the story. He always has to see, in order to scrap with Lucci, Atlas has to get destroyed first. He has to see that, like, that robot gave us food, and so and he scraps with Lucci. Like, that's how he operates.
Yeah, so it's like breaking that will kind of mess with Luffy's morals and like the integral parts of him to some extent, right? It
definitely challenges him.
Yeah.
I feel like I've said it on this podcast at some point, but I've had the idea that Shanks is kind of the John Silver to Jim's Luffy. So like the main character of Treasure Island, Jim Hawkins, he looks up to John Silver, even though he's heard that he might be kind of a bad guy. He was told to watch out for this guy without a leg, for a one-legged man. And then he meets a one-legged man, and the guy is super cool, and he's super nice to him, and they bond. Jim's never had a father figure before, and he becomes a father figure. And then right as they get to the island, shortly before, he realizes that John Silver is who he is, that he's a traitor and a pirate. And there's that incredible tension with the two of them where they have that bond, but they're still on opposing forces.
Yeah.
I think Shanks knows that he is that figure for Luffy, and that's why he's kind of refused. He hasn't really seen him until he's ready, until there's been that moment. And I don't think Luffy's ready for that.
Yeah, he's not ready. I think
which is gonna be so good.
That could be like an ace level moment.
Oh yeah,
where he kind of breaks down or just gets really
just because it's like he does need to overcome Shanks. They are both Yonko, and there's only one person who could be king of the pirates, and the only one person who could find the One Piece. And it's like, I just don't think Luffy's really reconciled with that yet. Especially you can see that as he's talked about Shanks in these chapters. I loved his conversation with Zoro about, it's just like, yeah, I want to free Loki, and it's like, he's probably lying to you. He's like, well, okay, if he is, I'll kick his ass.
Yeah,
like, whatever.
I'll lock him up again. Yeah.
It's like, but I really want to see Shanks again. And he's so driven to that, and also just the Loki slighting Shanks in any way, any minor way, Luffy instantly scraps with him.
Yeah.
So so here's a question for you. Do you think that upon seeing Shamrock, Luffy will recognize that it's not Shanks and kick his ass, or do you think he might be fooled for a second because he's infamously not good at recognizing people?
Yeah, I think Luffy will be confused. I think he'll definitely be fooled. I feel like he might be a little out of character if he isn't. Obviously, he loves Shanks, but it also has been like 15 years, probably 10 years since he's seen Shanks.
Yeah.
So,
my sticking point with it is because I think I love the joke. I love the fact that he can't fucking recognize people. When they have put a mask right in front of them, and he just like, who is that? It's so funny. It's one of the best gags. But I like that this is creating that source of tension as a reader who knows that. They're like, oh, how is he going to react? I think the combination of he knows that there's somebody that looks like Shanks on the island.
Oh, true. Yeah.
He already knows about that.
Yeah.
But also, it means a lot that Shanks gave up his arm for him. And if he sees a guy that looks like Shanks, but he has both arms, I think he's gonna know. I don't think he's that stupid.
Yeah, I know it's.
But he's gonna be confused. Don't get me wrong. I think he's gonna be like, what the fuck? But I don't think he's gonna be like Shanksu like when he sees him, and then like Shamrock, haha. I don't know.
Honestly, I get what you mean by like, you know, they're already talking about it. Like Luffy and Zoro, they're kind of having like the conversation about like there's a potential brother for Shanks. But Luffy's also the person who gets so easily distracted. So like there's very much a world where I see Luffy just forgetting that they had that conversation.
Oh yeah,
when he sees Shanks, like he's a very forgetful guy. So
yeah, when he sees Shamrock for sure.
But also, you know, it's when it's something important, Luffy tends to remember it. So you know, I could see it kind of either way, but no, I think
it's interesting.
It's interesting. I don't know. I guess we'll see how it goes. I'm always, I guess I'm reluctant. Too many characters. Blah blah blah.
They're even getting a third one. They're getting a third God Knight up in here soon enough.
Hopefully, hopefully it's just a character we already know. Like Oda could just like pick up another character and be like, actually, they're a God Knight now, and I'll be like, okay.
Yeah, because that's interesting. You brought that up because I don't know if you picked up on this. When they introduced Shamrock, they classified him as a world noble, but they didn't classify Gunko as a world noble, just as a God Knight. So people are saying that, so she's not a celestial dragon technically, or at least like not like born in that, you know, not of the same kind of thing like Shamrock is. And so that does make people think, and also they're just inviting Loki, of course. So people are wondering, like, have there been other people that we already know that have been God Knights before? Yeah. I think Mihawk definitely comes to mind.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. I think that makes sense too because he's really strong.
Exactly. Like, where did he get that?
Yeah, Gunko. I like her powers. They were cool. The arrows.
Yeah.
It was
cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
You weren't mad about her design?
What was wrong with her design? I don't know.
Well, when the chapter came out and it was revealed that she doesn't wear pants, people were very up in arms about it. But then they quickly forgot about it next week.
It's One Piece. I don't know, man.
He wants he wants to do fun designs, and it's very clearly like rewarded in the way that people cosplay these things, draw fan art of this stuff. Like, this is all very intentional that he wants to draw. Obviously he loves to make characters, and designing is a part of that, but I do think that's something he keeps in mind, where he wants to put them in outfits and puts them in and create characters fans would want to draw, that people would want to see and cosplay or whatever, right? So it makes sense to me.
I get it. It's like we're just people just because pissed about, like, I guess, like the sexualization of the character, just because she's wearing pants, that sort of thing.
Sure. If it's sexual, which is just like, well,
and it's like
if it's cold, wear some pants.
Fucker. Yeah. We're 1,000 chapters in. You know what I mean?
1,100. It's a lot.
You've read 1,000 chapters of One Piece and you're complaining that it's sexual. Like, what the fuck is
right?
Is your brain on fucking right? Are we reading the same story? Yeah. I'm sorry, man. It's
true. It's a silly thing.
It's such a nothing thing, I think, to complain about. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. She was okay. I'm just kind of, I guess I'm just, I don't know. I guess I was expecting. Like, I guess I don't know what I was expecting. There was just a lot of characters. More Usopp so far. There's not enough Usopp. I was thinking about that.
This was an interesting observation for me, especially when I was looking through it. I love the fact that Luffy brought Zoro and Nami. Like, Nami joined them, and it's the original three that are exploring the castle. And I love that it's Roto that's helping that, because obviously they need a giant to navigate things to get anywhere in this place.
Yeah.
And Roto being this like kind of scuzzy, kind of outsider, doesn't really care whether Loki gets freed or not, and he would sooner do what Nami tells him.
And he's really into Nami too.
Yeah, like, that's so funny.
It's really fun. Nami's like slave owner.
He's my new slave,
dude. It's really funny. Like, Nami is killing it. Like, she's really funny in this arc, I think.
Definitely. And even just like, being the person to make it to navigate the place. To find their way around things, because there's no way Luffy or Zoro would have been able to find a fucking key to release someone. So there's three of them, but it does call to question why they don't bring other people. And I think it makes the most sense that they don't bring Usopp, because he is the last person that's going to want Loki freed.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Well, Loki has presumably killed the king. He probably did.
Yeah, or something happened. Definitely something happened.
Yeah, something happened. There's like that interesting mystery going on. But yeah, no, I get what you mean by like Usopp staying back with the giants. That could cause potentially some tension among the crew. Hopefully.
Yeah. I really want that for sure.
That could be interesting. Like, I guess I'll see how that's executed. But obviously, like, if some sort of truth is revealed about Loki, like, I feel like Usopp
come to understand it. Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, for sure. And I just think that, like, we have no idea what he's gonna do, and what he might end up giving to certain Straw Hats. Like, I don't think anyone would have expected Usopp to have such an incredible moment in Dressrosa, which I rewatched a little bit because of Hyrodine. Just him being the singular guy to turn the tide the way he did with like scaring Sugar and releasing all those people from the spell.
Yeah,
it's just such a boss move. And then him doing it again and getting advanced observation. He was taken care of so well in that arc.
Yeah.
So it's like, I do think he's going to get something good. And that was 42 chapters into Dressrosa, and we're only like 13 into Elbaf. So it's like, I think what he's doing with Usopp makes a lot of sense, especially just the tension, because he's obviously disappointed in the giant country having this conflict, I guess, with their past, what their culture should be versus what it is when it comes to like being giant, great warriors.
The warriors, yeah. There's only the one
thing,
kid. Yeah.
And it's funny too, like the new generation that Hyodine's a part of, and that Ripley's a part of, because you notice that Ripley, despite being a teacher and trying to, teach the new kids the ways that like Saul probably would, or that Harold wanted them to, she's still kind of like, that was a good swing, or like saying the swear words or whatever. She's still conditioned of the old ways, and she's trying to teach them the new ways, but not fully succeed. Do as I say, not as I do, type of thing. And that seeing that transition happening in real time is very interesting and organic, and creates a great tension with Usopp and Luffy, because I think Usopp would be more understanding, despite being probably disappointed because he looks up to the warrior thing. But they're trying to be more like what Usopp is currently, which is like, he's strong mentally. He's like, but he's not like a great warrior in the barbaric sense that I think Harold was trying to distance himself, especially like distance himself from. I like that Oda very explicitly made it like a race thing in terms of the pure ancient giant blood. Yeah, and the horns and all that.
The amount of race talk in this is pretty like whenever they're pointing out like Jinbei's skin color.
But yeah, the blue skin. Right.
Your skin is so blue. Oh my god. It's really yeah, no, I think it's interesting, like they're going into like interracial couples and stuff. There's like
love is freedom.
Yeah, no,
it's very, very cool.
It was a fun line. I thought, I'm like, damn, Oda pro interracial couples, bro. We get based pro interracial marriage.
Yeah.
He made it,
including revealing that Buccaneers were that, which was new information.
Which is that's Kuma, right? Is the Buccaneer?
Kuma and his father are the only two Buccaneers that we know of in the story, and we don't have any confirmation of what the mixed race is supposed to be. It might be giant and human, but I don't know. I really don't know.
Might be. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure.
How did you feel about Scopper Gaban?
I thought it was awesome. I'm not.
How far ahead did you see that? Did you expect that?
I think we've talked about that at some point in this podcast, like Scopper Gaban being here, because it just makes the most sense, I think, for the story. Yeah. I didn't expect him to be here, I guess, like in where he is in the story, in like on the King's throne.
Yeah, encounter Luffy in the way that he did. Right.
I think he's a really fun character, and he brings a really good energy. And I think just like him being kind of like the third kind of strongest person on like Roger's crew is really interesting too. I think it's like I really like his perspective is really interesting. Like he has a giant he has a giant wife. I don't know how sex works between them. Keeps keeping me thinking. He's so small. I don't know how they have a child together. So something must have worked. So that's got me thinking. But I thought he was really fun. I think the reveal at the end there, I was like, oh, did they just change his name from Scopper Gaban or whatever? But then it was, it's the reveal from like him being Yason to being like Gaban. I thought that was a pretty fun reveal.
Yeah, there's actually some contention even with Japanese readers of what Ya is supposed to even mean. Like it's like, oh, it's a Yakuza thing. Oh, it's Ya as in Yama, like a mountain eater. Like Gaban, like there's a lot of like there's a mix of like what that's supposed to be.
Yeah. Anyway, like he. But fucking, the mountain eater. That's such a fun name.
Right.
Too.
No. Exactly. Yeah. Because his wife.
Yeah. He's a munch, dude. They just Oda confirmed
it. Yeah.
Oda confirmed he's a munch.
Oh
That's
my
crazy.
god.
But
no,
no, it was cool. I like that reveal.
Yeah.
That chapter, like the latest chapter, I thought was really good.
Yeah, for sure. And the way he eased people in, and like because that's like a lot of people were anticipating that, and the way that the first thing you see is the axes. I think that was really, really smart. Give a signal to those people that were that further, that like really truthers about it being Gaban.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up rewatching the anime Wano flashback of specifically the section of Roger's crew. It does turn out that the anime added a lot of Scopper Gaban content.
Oh, really?
From the separate from the manga. So you actually have like a little moment of him fighting Odin specifically, as like, Whitebeard takes on Roger and Rayleigh takes on, I don't know, fucking Marco or something. But then he's kind of against Odin joining the crew, and he has to warm up to him. And there's like a moment where Odin does a cool thing, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you are cool" or whatever. But he's kind of like Buggy and Shanks on like Mocktown as they're doing that. It was really interesting that it very clearly seems that like Gaban was the other character besides Rayleigh, Roger, Buggy, and Shanks on that crew that would have any name or development whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like speculation of what his role is on the crew, because I was thinking it would be really, really cool if he was the navigator to kind of complete that trio of Roger captain, Rayleigh first mate, Gaban navigator, Luffy, Zoro, and Nami being the same core trio.
Yeah, that could be really fun, and that's the trio that's with them at this current moment in the manga. So I think
exactly right.
Yeah, so
and I was surprised and really delighted that he not only kind of hints at the Nami connections, in the fact that Nami actually seems kind of like interested in him, or like interested in what he wants. I love that moment where he starts yapping, and Luffy and Zoro are like, let's go look for the key.
This guy's gonna yap on forever, dude. Like
like they just walk away, and Nami's like, we should listen to him.
Yeah.
And then like when he tells her to push the chair, and they go into the chamber, she's like, how did you know this place? And he's like, exploring's my hobby. So
you're right. Yeah, you're probably right. He's probably the navigator.
And then in the flashback, it's still not really. It's not really confirmed, but this is in the manga. You do see Gaban being the one that draws the lines from the road poneglyphs to find the location. But then it's everybody around the map, and Roger's like, "Did we find it?" And Gaban's like, "Yeah, we found it." So it's like it seemed more of a collective thing in terms of the navigation. But he is the one drawing it, so there is slight like, okay, is he the navigator? But I was really happy that unexpected that Oda draws so many parallels to Sanji with him, being the left wing, as well as like the missionary of love.
Yeah, being the womanizer sort of.
Exactly. Right.
Character. Yeah. No,
and also really protective, like also just really like kind of butting heads with Roger, in the way that Sanji butts heads with Luffy a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The dude,
yeah,
the fact that he's got fucking Rayleigh vibes, and you gotta be kidding me, man. Like, this is incredible.
His vibes are like, I feel like Rayleigh is like even, I guess a bit more mature. Like the way like Scopper like carries himself, he's just very, he's like your goofy uncle at Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Like that's the vibe he gives off. And he's just very lovable, I think, right off the bat. He's very much feels like he's like a classic One Piece character. I think it's like the first character in this arc that we were introduced to that I was like, oh, yay!
Right.
I think a lot of these characters are fine.
You were kind of down for.
Yeah, well, because also he's been set up
he means
so
a lot.
Much
yeah,
before.
he means a lot. Right.
Like this is a character that like. has been set up for a long time, like has been
for sure,
so long, like ever since, like I think it was like whatever the Laboon story or whatever.
Mm-hmm. The cover story, the way he's teased like that, for sure. That makes so much sense. And I think what threw people off was the official colorization with him having yellow hair, because he just looks like Shiki. There's it's so hard to not think that that's Shiki, but you also have to realize, like, why would Shiki be meeting with Crocus? What would the reason for that be? So I feel like that really threw people off. So I'll be interested to see what his actual colorization is supposed to be. Like, clearly his hair is kind of grayed out, but I'm curious to see if it's not. I don't think it's yellow. I think it's like white, like Rayleigh's or something.
Yeah, I guess before we get into like the whole mural thing, because that was big. I found just all the exposition about the king really interesting, because I guess it was like not exactly like the situation I was expecting it to be. Like him dying, like I think they said he died like 14 years ago. And it's like, it's a long time. Like I thought they locked up, like the whole events of this story was that, Loki recently killed the king, or there was something like that. But this has been like a change for a long time. Yeah. So it just, like,
time is so different in Elbaf. Like the fact that Colin is 20.
Yeah.
It like completely like warps, like, oh, like, wait, how old are people here?
How old are these people? And it's like, It instantly just like gets me theorizing, like the obvious kind of like, next step like you take in your brain is like, oh, that old man with the fucking sword in his head is making something up. Oh,
he's like, lucky my sword saved me, and like they're calling attention to how BS that is. He's a dubious character.
And there's something going on there, and they bring up how like Hyrodin is his brother, and like that like character could have a motive against him. But then at the same time, it's like Hyrodin is a good character. He works with Luffy, like we've seen.
No, for sure. He's one of us. He's loyal to Luffy and everything, and that's also going to be very interesting. The contrast of like Luffy wanting to free Loki, and how Hyrodin would feel about that.
Yeah, I think that's a really smart like thing going on in the story right now. I think it makes it way more interesting. Luffy just wants to free the character that everyone hates in this arc so far.
Well, then it leans into that this narrative about Nika and Joy Boy that we're learning more about in this arc, that he is not necessarily the savior for everybody. According, when we were first hearing about him in Wano and then in Egghead, he is like the good guy, the savior, the Christ figure almost, or something. And then obviously the destroyer for the bad guys or whatever. But it does call into question the Fishman thing too, where Luffy is prophesized to destroy Fishman Island. That whole thing in Fishman, I love, where they ask if he's a good guy or a bad guy, and Luffy just says, you can decide that for yourselves. And it's very similar to Nika and Joy Boy, where it's the, there's the multiple translations, but there's like from people's perspective, he just brings great change, but is he a liberator? Is he like a destroyer of things? Is he on our side? Is he not?
That's the whole thing. It's
exactly.
He's just fighting for his freedom, and
right?
Like, the people he cares about.
What he wants to do.
Yeah, what he wants to do, and like it comes from a place of he believes in freedom. So that I think that's interesting.
The Herald thing is great. Because it is very like when like Road said no one's been here since the king was killed. I'm like, that's such a bad idea. Why did clearly there's something there.
There's something sus going on, obviously. Like,
I mean, even just the magic symbol being there. From what we know, like the reason that Saturn was able to bring he's able to do the summoning for the other Gorosei was because he was physically there. He had to sail to that island first, and a strong enough Haki was able to disrupt the signal and disappear the four that were summoned there. Not necessarily Saturn. He stayed there because he was physically brought there. So it could be said it's a question of whether that symbol was made when the God Knights showed up there, or it's been there the entire time, including the part when when Loki this thing happened. Like it just feels very clear from the symbols of the whoever he's talking to with Shaggy, whoever Shaggy is, being like, you're not such a bad person, and Luffy not getting really bad vibes from him either, and him refusing to join the God Knights and like fuck the Celestial Dragons. Anybody that's like that should be on our side, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That there's a lot to it that's like I don't think Loki's the bad guy here necessarily. He's probably like an like he's probably not a completely nice guy.
Well, he had like there's like the whole thing when he was 10 and he was kind of like killing beasts and then forcing them onto towns. Like he was a troll.
And he was an arsonist. Yeah.
He's kind of like a troll. Like he's not a bad guy. He's just kind of fucking around.
Yeah, but
which is similar to
like,
Luffy, I guess. It's like it's someone who kind of just does
he
what
sees
they want.
himself as the next Nika because he's like, well, I clearly have this destiny of killing my father, who probably told him that, and like it's unclear how Harold felt about Loki.
Yeah.
That entire time, if it meant that like he had this prophecy that he was going to kill him, how would you feel about it?
Well, the assumption and like the whole thing about him being the accursed prince, and then the year after he was born, I think his mother died.
Yeah, a lot of things happened.
Like all these different like calamities that occurred, like quote unquote.
They killed the lucky horse. The same year Yarl was killed by Big Mom, which I think gives Yarl some motivation here. I think because like. Mm-hmm. I think he was kind of thrown into despair once his like his I don't know if Yorl was his brother or not, or if there was he was obviously very close to Yorl. I think that could lead to a shift with it. I think there's a reason that Oda is using this exact character who was involved with the Big Mom incident.
Yeah,
I think there should be some connection there.
No, I think that makes total sense. I I guess the thing that comes to mind is, potentially the God Knights, whatever the Gorosei, whoever they teleported there.
Yeah.
And then, like, probably teleported away. Then Yarl's like, oh, you killed your fucking father, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Of course this could be pinned on.
Is going on. That seems to be where the story is going.
It seems like it to me, too,
It seems like it's going in that direction, which I think... It's interesting. I don't know. I guess
I think it's very similar to Fishman, right? Because they had this assumption the entire time that a human killed Otohime, and then it's revealed that Hody killed Otohime. But it's going to be interesting to see how that resolves, or in what way what does this go? Where does this go from here? I just love that it's still pretty unpredictable in terms of what we're going to get. It doesn't feel very telegraphed. Even the people that are like, oh, this is how... Like, there's been multiple videos, obviously, about, like, let's predict the full ending of One Piece. Let's see... Now that we have so much of it, let's see where it's going to go and everything.
Yeah.
I deadass hope that Oda reads those and was like, all right, I won't do that then.
I feel like you would have to change so much.
Maybe. Yeah.
Right?
I think there's... obviously, it's like, okay, Zoro fights Mihawk. Like, yeah, obviously that's going to happen, right? Yeah. But I just think... I just love... when he turns left. I just love it.
You think that happened? He saw a video and then he's like, let me actually change Luffy's devil fruit. Like, do you think that happened? We have that like
I don't know. I think I'm being mostly facetious when I say
obviously
I
understand.
Because he does. I think he has said I don't look online anymore. Like I don't look up myself. I don't look up anything because obviously I think people have called it. You know, I think they've called some things, and there's definitely someone who has called a lot of it. It's like leakers or it's like those people that leak Nintendo Directs and shit like that, because people are impatient, and there's a market for that, and they'd be rewarded for something like that, for people to see what they think of their thing is. And you can even, you can disguise it as harmless fun or whatever, but there is a thing about being right,
I get it, why you want to be right, but it's also like,
right. Shut the fuck up.
Like I want to see how Oda writes it.
Me too.
Like I'm not trying to see how fucking
Gear death.
How I don't know, like Grand Line Review writes it or something. You know what I mean? Like
for sure.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah. It's obviously it's fun to theorize, and I've done that a lot in the past. Like I did a lot. I used to be super into it, but like I think at this point, like in my One Piece journey, I did actually 10 years ago now. This is like when I first got into it, when I first started watching anime. This year, I was like, damn. I've been It's like, damn, I've been on this shit for too long, because it was like 10 years, and until I read the chapters today, I think the most negative I feel like I've ever been to One Piece.
Yeah, wow.
I've just been just like super negative towards after that chapter with Vegapunk and all this stuff with Elbaf. But I think the arc is coming around to me slowly. I guess, I don't know. I'm not super thrilled about the Shanks' brother thing. It feels kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess for
feels
me,
weird to me.
Yeah, I'm still kind of like processing it as, when he turns left, he's constantly trying to like get the viewers on their toes and give them something that they wouldn't expect, that's like crazy, to keep it interesting, because I think it would be easy for him to kind of just put it on autopilot and do a similar thing. But ultimately, I think it's like, I need the complete story, not even just the complete arc. I need the complete story. And so I just kind of reserve a lot of my anything that makes me feel like, I don't like that. It just doesn't occur to me, because I'm like, well, next page maybe, next chapter maybe, next arc maybe. It's I keep I just know that he has the plan, that he has got it all figured out. Maybe not all figured out, because that's the thing, right? Like, any human, it's like, you would have had it out by now if he actually did. But it's more of just like, he has the steps that he wants to hit. It's just a matter of like, okay, how do I fill this page this week? How do I disseminate this information chapter by chapter? And I think this arc has been very interesting for that, because every chapter has felt like, okay, I'm going to bring this into the picture. I'm going to reveal this part. I'm going to reveal this part. And I think maybe 1134 was especially insufferable, because he was setting up too many pieces and not knocking down enough. Like there wasn't any like satisfactory part. It wasn't any answers. It was only more questions. Yeah. But that's for the satisfying thing later. I mean, that's just how he writes. But yeah, like I guess for me, it like, I think I'll start having qualms about it when I get to the end. But I'm hopefully not letting that negativity affect me, because it like, just on a moment to moment basis, I'm just happy that One Piece still makes me laugh. Yeah. A lot. Just like the little part where Zoro's like, we haven't actually decided that we're releasing him yet, and then Luffy just goes, "Oh, you're so funny, Zoro." Yeah. It's just shit like that, where it's just like, it just gets to me, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like, I try and look at it at a moment to moment basis, and like, that's how I kind of enjoy it. I think it's easier for me when there's more content to consume, because I think like reading these like 5 chapters back to back, like, it was way more, I feel like it was the most engaged and like entertained I've been of One Piece in like a year. Yeah. So I'm probably just gonna do that now. Realistically, I'm probably just wait for a bunch of chapters to come out.
Hell yeah, dude. No, that's great.
Yeah, I think when he makes these decisions to like whatever the Vegapunk stuff, it just like takes me out of the moment.
For sure.
So it's like, it makes me so hard to get back into that, because I'm like, what's the point?
What are you doing?
What's the point of getting attached when like where there's no consequence? So
yeah. I guess like the emotional moments in the moment are what get me. But then it is true that the fake outs have disappointed me in the past, and this just reminds me of that. And again, it's very similar if you've read it long enough, especially fucking weekly. Things remind you of things even more strongly. Yeah. So when a thing you don't like, it just becomes a thing where it's like, oh, another fucking time limit. Oh, another fucking, the thing I don't like. So you can imagine then why people would be pissed about the Gungo design, because they were so triggered by sexualization earlier in One Piece. And so it just reminds them again. It's an open wound for them.
Stop reading, right? Like,
yeah.
I was triggered early on, so I kept reading for another 1,000 chapters. Like,
well, they liked it for but that's just the thing of like the story's success of having such a broad appeal. Like, people can be bothered by a lot of because people can like a lot of things about One Piece, and they can also be bothered by a lot of things because it does so many broad stuff. Like, imagine you didn't like sci-fi in your fucking manga. Like, I think the one genre that Oda does not do in this story pretty much at all is sports.
Yeah.
but like.
But even we have.
But
the
it's a shonen.
filler,
It's a battle shonen. You know.
Well, we have that
whatever.
filler Foxy arc where they play baseball.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Right.
No, for
and
sure.
that
reminds me of
too.
like the that theory of like having a Davy back fight.
Yeah.
Against the Yonko. Oh my god.
That's so dumb.
I like the idea.
I don't know.
I like the idea.
It just what it's just like, why would you run back the worst arc in all of One Piece? You know what I mean?
Is that the worst arc?
What's worse?
I ranked them a while ago. I have to find what I thought was the worst. Obviously, like Long Ring Long is low. I don't deny that.
What the fuck is worse than that?
I want to say it's one of the East Blue ones. I think like Orange.
What?
I don't know.
Orange? You think Buggy? That arc with Buggy?
Oh, I found it. No, I think I found it. Hold on.
You think that's worse?
Well,
than
maybe
Foxy?
if you have to rank them, I don't like ranking shit like this for this reason, because then it's like belly aching.
I think that's why I like.
No. Oh, okay. Okay. No. No, I agree with this. No, I have Orange Town above Long Ring Long, so my bad. That's my apologies. Below Long Ring Long for me. Actually, I don't really want to. I don't want to reveal this. Never mind.
Bro's about to tell me what's on the fucking list, dude. What's on the fucking list?
So
it's Wano.
Okay, no. I disagree with it now. Like having reread this arc a little bit, like I've revisited it in the manga.
Oh, Fishman.
And no. You're gonna be pissed. It's really funny, but it's because it's more of like a political statement really than anything. It's like a, I don't really, but it's funny. It's just cool. It's funny.
Oh, interesting. Wait, what the fuck? What? Okay, so Shape 7 image is probably on the screen.
No,
there
it
was
is right.
4 arcs below Long Ring. I was expecting 1.
No. You gotta admit, Whiskey Peak is not it.
I don't know.
Long Ring Long at least has like Zoro and Sanji fighting and like fun. I like the island a lot too.
Amazon Lily is better just because they grab his penis. You know what I mean? Like that moment alone is better than the entirety of Long Ring Long Land. I don't know. Whiskey Peak. I like all the characters in Whiskey Peak. I think the variety was pretty fun.
It's too short.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like I don't like think of it much as an arc.
No, you barely think of it as an arc, but it is.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Well, I feel like it's short.
I don't have strong feelings about it. Is why it's.
You know what I mean? Like that's why I think it serves its purpose well. I think it serves its purpose better than Long Ring Long Land for me. Amazon Marine. Yeah, so Marineford.
Yeah, so Marineford.
He put Marineford. That's the.
It's very funny. It's just really fun. It's just like kind of funny.
It's like he just put it for the meme.
No, I did, and it like the real reason is because like I was kind of spoiled to a lot of it. Like a lot of it didn't really affect me because I knew about it so much through osmosis.
Yeah.
But the real thing about it was just that like this is such an incredible arc, but there's no Straw Hats. I get it. You know, I want the Straw Hats. That's my favorite. Those you're missing all of my favorite. Like every arc that has the Straw Hats in it is better. But it's true. Like I definitely, especially reading it, because I watched it first, and it was like a binge that I watched it really. And it was a lot. It was just a lot, and I just kept thinking about just like the Straw Hats aren't here, and Impel Down is higher, really because of like the Buggy stuff and the Jinbei stuff.
Impel Down is way more
and
interesting.
Bon Clay and Blackbeard, like. That shit's amazing.
So like Marineford has none of the adventure. Impel Down is all adventure. That's what makes it more fun.
Right. And I also just wasn't spoiled to any of it. Like I didn't know almost anything about it.
That's cool.
But Marineford I knew pretty much everything.
Yeah, everyone fucking knows Ace dies, you know what I mean? So it's
or Whitebeard and the admirals and Akainu and everything. The biggest like surprise to me was just how much of a dick Akainu is in terms of like what he told that pirate, I forget his name, that like stabs Whitebeard, and him orchestrating that. I'm like, oh my god, that piece of shit.
Yeah.
That was the biggest impact for me because I didn't know about that moment. But everything else I kind of knew. But yeah, I guess it's just for me, it's like Marineford is its own function, and it's incredibly epic, and I think it's a lot better in the manga, to be honest with you.
Okay,
Not with
interesting.
not in a pacing way, but in an art way. You can really tell that Oda knew what he was drawing was something really pivotal and special, and so the way it's framed and everything about it just feels really special and important in an artistic way.
That's really cool to hear. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
read the
yeah.
manga for it, so.
It's just like the framing of it. I don't know. There was just something about it that felt different to me. Whereas the anime, by that point, after Sabaody, from Sabaody through Wano, up to Wano, like starting at Wano, it got better. With some pockets, obviously, some exceptions, like some cuts in Fishman, some cuts in Whole Cake and stuff like that. But the anime's in a slump at this point. They had been doing it for a while. And Toei, and it's not just that anime, it's Toei. Like, Precure, that's when a slump happens in Precure. That's, Dragon Ball Super happens in 15 and it looks like ass. They studio-wide were kind of in a slump from, like, 2009 to 2017 or so. And it wasn't until about, end of Super and start of Wano where One Piece picks up, Dragon Ball picks up, Precure picks up, fucking first Slam Dunk happens, Dragon Quest, the remake for Dino Daibo Ken happens. Like, they just, like, get a fucking new burst of energy. Like, they're on a fucking tear right now. They were incredible. I love Toei, but they are admittedly in a slump in this period. So, like, obviously with some exceptions. Like, they're not trash. I really don't think that their handling was trash because the material's just that good. And they're not incompetent. Like, I'm not negative on the anime the way some people are that, like, think that it needs an entire fucking remake, like, from the ground fucking up.
Oh, I know. I know, Shaybs. I know.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, we're getting it, so don't worry about it. We're getting the remake.
Right.
Whether you like it or not, we're getting the remake still. So.
Well, we're not getting the remake to Dressrosa. That's not happening. Wit is not making it to fucking Dressrosa.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be great if they made it to fucking Marineford or something. Like, but sure. But, like, I don't think they will. I don't think they're making it to Water 7. No.
They're not going to make it to... maybe they'll make it to Alabasta. I don't know.
No, yeah. I can understand if they made it through Skypiea, because those are the 200 episodes that are in 4x3. And, since then, it's like, oh, we don't really have to touch this with the... I do love what they've been doing in the remaster. I know we're all over the place here. But, yeah, I mean, I'm watching the episode tonight and streaming about it. I have already been spoiled that they redid the shot that I was most hoping that they would redo. I don't know if you know about this.
No. In Fishman?
So this is the original panel. It's a 2-page spread. I mean,
there's
some
this.
stuff.
Oh yeah,
there's stuff
iconic
at the top.
panel. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the stuff at the top. This is what the original anime did.
Oh.
It's pretty ass.
Yeah,
and
it looks ugly.
The reason it looks like that is because it's not just this shot. They stretched this section out. They padded this out to, like, maybe a 2-minute sequence where every single Straw Hat got, like, a shot of detail. They kind of, like, cut to each Straw Hat. So this was a way for them to stretch out for time.
Oh my God.
It's not a great choice. The remake has flattened that, thankfully, and this got revealed, at least on Twitter.
that looks sick. Hell yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So this is so we fucking won. This this is what I wanted. The entire, like, since this was announced, I was like, oh, I hope they fix that. I hope that's the one thing I want them to do, and really make that moment count, because that moment counts a lot. And there is such a thing as, like, good choices and bad choices, and I think this was not a great choice on their part in the original. So they're improving it here. So yeah, I'm really happy about that.
Hell yeah, that's great, dude.
Yeah. So it's like, and I hope they do that for other arcs. It's just a matter of, like, at what point do they do that? Because that just takes a lot of time away from the original anime from progressing, and these people are not getting younger. The voice actors in particular, as we've talked about. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I think that's a really good choice. I think the panel looks really good, and I think the new shading with the
compositing and the lighting and from the top. It's
I think I'm glad they're doing that. They should just do that with every.
Yeah.
I hope they do it with Dressrosa.
Point. I was because it's like, it's a great arc. and I was watching through it to look for things for Hyrodine and everything, and it's not just the birdcage shit and then like running for 10 minutes or whatever. It is, and this is just like learning more about Oda's. I think for this Fishman Island project for me, I've been able to learn a lot about how the anime has done things and how the manga has also told its story from Oda's perspective, in terms of like feeling like he has, because he knows that the anime goes one episode per chapter for the most part. It feels like he packs every chapter and every panel with stuff, with dialogue, with characters reacting to things. And that's just as a way to pace his story out. Again, like what do I put on this page to progress the story at the point that I want? Like, I don't want to reveal too much. I just want to get to the point when Shamrock gets revealed. What do I fill the other 15 pages with? And even considering just like when they open the magazine, when they open the volume cover, what's on the right page and what's on the left page? Like, what do they see as a composition? Like, it's sort of technical stuff that that's the sort of stuff he's thinking about. But with Fishman Island Log, it has enough distance from the arc that the original anime did not have to really give it a full bird's eye view perspective of like, okay, what is the most important beats to hit? What are like the moments that are necessary and great that we need to keep? We shave everything else off in order to do 2 chapters per episode or 3 chapters per episode and really condense it into what feels necessary. And honestly, I think it's been for the better. There have been entire pages cut in some instances. I've been keeping track of the entire thing in a fucking Photoshop list that's going to be... I'm hopefully making a video about it at the end to kind of capstone it. But there's just been so much that's been cut in a good way. Yeah, in my opinion. There's obviously jokes that I miss that I wish were in there, but you can see why they made those choices just based on like the time it takes to say the joke. You know, how wordy it is, or like how much build up and setup there is for the payoff at the end or whatever. But like, what's the most essential thing? And realizing like, what does the reader care most about? In Fishman in particular, they don't really care about Hode's subordinates. They're not great characters, you know?
Yeah.
So don't spend a fucking 10 minutes on them. Really just find the one joke that would be funny to kind of to keep and include, but that's it. And like really streamline it in a way that like they make their impact at the amount that they should. But Jinbei should have all the time that's dedicated to him. Shirahoshi should have all the time that's dedicated to her. Those are the characters that matter the most. Even certain Straw Hats, like cut a few of Chopper's reactions to Luffy doing this thing or whatever. Like it doesn't really make a difference to what Chopper thinks in this instance, but don't cut the moments of him, you know, looking for blood for Sanji, because he's that's his role in the crew. It just like, it's really smart choices. But obviously this is a sacred text to people, so anything cut is a fucking mortal sin. So
it's a war crime, dude. It's
right. It's a fucking war crime.
Yeah,
right.
It's our God Oda. It's like ripping up pages of the Bible.
Yeah, and it's like, but the Bible's still there. There's multiple copies. No one can take away the fact that these pages and these panels and these jokes do exist. And it's not a missed opportunity like, oh, that joke will never be adapted. It was in the original anime. They are overly thorough. They don't just include every single thing without fail, even if it's very boring, which is a mistake that One Piece does, really. That like, they will cut something that is not canon that is more interesting than something that is canon, even if it's a side character, not even an unnamed random fishman character saying something that we already know as a viewer, and it's just like reiterating. That will be kept, but like this cool extra fight with Zoro and Hody will be cut because it's not in the manga. Do you know what I mean? There's no discernment of quality here. There's a very like soulless fucking one for one, and I don't think they realize that.
Yeah, I think they obviously don't get it, and it's like, if only Toei could do this with every arc, but they're not going to do that.
No, it's because it's just the people that are there. They had a slump, or like it's the people that are there. The people, certain staff then left, or whatever. It's a tangible, real thing, and it's like they have one chance to make it right, and sometimes they nail it, and other times they don't. And I like that. Like that's a human thing, and it's the same thing with Oda. You know, I think there's like, could he have done certain reveals better? Or did he take a little too long on the third act of things? Like, oh, but I have to make a fight for this guy and for this guy. Oh, and for this guy. Oh, but what do I do about that? Like, because he's in the middle of writing it, you know, and it's being released, and he can't change too much. He really can't change almost anything. He can like improve the art a little bit, but he can't take anything back once it's printed. Mm-hmm. You know, once it's out in Jump and everyone's seen it, like that's canon. That's what happened. He can't go back on this like, oh, I wish I didn't kill that character. That's probably why he doesn't kill characters sometimes, where he's just like, oh, but what if I need him? You know, like maybe that's just it. I don't know, and that's a flaw for him. And he's like, oh, do I wish I, killed that character off? Yeah, probably. Like that didn't need to happen. He's a fallible person too. Like he's an artist.
You're saying he's not a god. You're saying he's not.
I'm not saying, but I'm not saying he's hacked it either.
He's not. Yeah, it's complicated, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think recently, like a lot of these chapters, I think are really good.
Yeah,
and I think it's interesting. Yeah, I guess. Do you want to get into?
The Harley thing.
Yeah,
the mural. Let me share. share.
The first world, within the earth there was fire. Mankind succumbed to greed and touched the forbidden sun. So my first interpretation. So basically, humanity did fracking, but then Nika doesn't like fracking. He doesn't like the drill baby drill, so then he killed them.
Yeah, the drill baby drill is right here.
There it is. Yeah, they took it is probably, this is like an adjacent to, like I say as a joke, but like the sea levels are rising, the climate is changing. They're taking too many resources from the earth. And that's industry, so right? Like there's all these like factories.
And this is fair. I think this is the ancient kingdom.
Yeah.
Very like specifically, and like because I've seen Arthur's. I didn't really watch very extensively into his like multiple video coverage of this, because he's just constantly updating. And like the funny thing is that Oda has set this up in a way about like when he was teasing the Harley originally. He's like, so people have multiple interpretations. I think he just knows that this is translated into multiple languages by multiple people. It's because this is the Viz version that's on currently. I also have the TCB version and the OP Scans version, which was the first one I read, so I'm more attached to this one, admittedly. And the raw Japanese. I
can't read that one. That's the problem.
Neither can I.
That's the problem.
I'm just for posterity.
Yeah, I get it. No, I read the TCB one, and the Earth. I feel like the TCB. This is pretty vague. Like you kind of had to. I reread it just to kind of like get what you're saying. But it seems like
they're all vague, and that's what's really interesting.
The Viz one's a little bit more straightforward, because the TCB one reads more of like a poem.
Yeah, and I know they got some shit for that, because people were saying that they were adding things that aren't there. But that's the challenge of translation. That's the difficulty, and I think Oda knows that. Even just the raw Japanese people, like even the Japanese people are like probably scratching their heads at certain things of just like, oh, what is certain like kanji that he's using and like certain wording and stuff like that. I just love that it feels like he's giving us stuff, but he isn't giving us the answers yet.
Yes.
And even just for the characters, they don't know this, because this is only this combination of like the Harley with the mural is only being shown to us. Frankie just sees the mural, and Robin is just reading the Harley. Oda showing this is giving more information to the reader, but it'll be interesting to see what Frankie thinks about the only observation he's made so far about it is that like, so this was made by giants, but there's more than giants on here. Like there's a bunch of other creatures and stuff.
Yeah, there's fishmen. There's like you can see on the left. There's the fishmen. There's like the animal with the sword. There's a bunch of different races. There's the mermaid.
Minx.
There's like there's the small characters with tontatas or something.
Exactly.
It very much echoes probably what the final saga is gonna look like. To some aspect.
Who do you suppose the guy on the left with the sun is?
I guess what is the opposite of what comes after the sun?
Darkness.
Darkness. Who has the darkness fruit? You know what I mean?
Yummy, yummy, no me.
Yummy,
Yeah.
yummy, no me, my little guy Blackbeard. So
I am with you there. I just get
Mhm.
vibes. I know people were expecting emu. There's that big debate, I guess, that's starting to form of like who the final villain of One Piece should be, right? Because I just think that and it's looping into this thing that some community members have of like, it's not going to end when they find the One Piece. It's going to end when they kill Emu and like take over and like topple the world government. And I do not see that happening. I think the story ends when they find the One Piece, and that's the end of the story. You know,
Yeah,
I just think,
I think
people are like,
we talked about this a lot. I'm trying to
for sure.
I think I don't know. I think it's like a pretty complex thing that could happen. I could definitely see it both ways because like we don't like if the One Piece is something that like
They're turning the world upside down.
yeah,
right.
like I think that makes sense why it would turn the world upside down, or like
So then it
destroys
has
the
to
red
do
line
that.
or something. What I mean?
Right.
Especially I think the right side is really cool.
For sure.
Of this mural, which to the people listening in the audio, not watching the video, it's just like I guess it's I hope you guys are caught up if you're listening. To this.
Yeah, I don't know what. I mean, cool if you are. Like that's fine. I know.
But yeah, it depicts this kind of old pre-Void Century society of these people stealing this natural resource of these stars, I guess.
Yeah, some energy.
It
just looks like they're
source.
coming. For me, it felt like they're facing, and so it kind of goes in one direction. So it's like a conveyor belt where they're coming out of the city at the bottom here, and then down an escalator down to some whatever the flames are down there, and they're coming back up with the star-looking energy.
The mother flame, maybe.
Yeah, and they're passing it through this area that has the Noah as well as the ship that NL was building. The tall person with a crown here really makes me think of Emu, and so they're passing it over and then bringing it back into the city, passing it into this whatever this boat is here.
Yeah, it's like
which just seems
it powers the city,
different.
maybe allows them to create some some energy source.
What's so crazy was like the very first thing that I thought when I saw this entire mural is just the similarity with these three beasts here, with the way that they're drawn, with the kind of like the eyes and the shapes and the shading. It made me think that they're connected in some way. And so I honestly thought that was like, oh, this said like some self-evident to me, but then the way people just haven't really said anything about it, I'm like, oh, am I crazy? I think the serpent's Poseidon. The the bird here is Uranus, so there's air, flight, and the guy on the left here is Pluton.
Interesting.
But that just makes you think like, well, why would all these guys be fighting Pluton? Well, we don't even know what the ancient weapons are. And that's one of the answers about One Piece. Although it's really interesting, I don't know where I got this where I came up with this, or like if I heard this somewhere. Just the fact that like the Roger Pirates don't have all the information. They said they've learned the secret of the world, and they act like they do, but they didn't end up finding the One Piece necessarily, because they say that after they visit Laugh Tale and they have the good laugh and everything. And Odin says that like they learned what D was, they learned what the ancient weapons were, they learned what the Void Century is. But Roger and Rayleigh talk to each other, being like, "I wonder who's going to find the One Piece. I wonder who's going to, I wish I lived in your time. We were too early." And especially just the amount of emphasis that they put on Poseidon in that arc, in that flashback, where they ask Charlie, when is when is a mermaid going to be born? And she says 10 years. And then it'll be another 10 or 15 years until she's like mature enough to be Poseidon. So they were like, yeah, we're too early. Well, they didn't say we were too early at that point, but I think the connection, especially with just how much the god of the sea is mentioned in the Harley, of like having this thing about the Serpent of Hellfire, which I know people were saying might be the Red Line itself, and the sea god stormed. And considering the sea beast and the water rising as rapidly as it did during the Void Century, as Vegapunk talked about, that seems like a thing that Poseidon was responsible for. Like, that would just make sense to me. But yeah, it's just like they don't have all the answers. And whoever is the next Nika is the next Joy Boy that is the one to find the One Piece. It's Luffy finding the One Piece that solves everything. And that's what Emu is trying to prevent. But I just think that, like, I think all of that is going to happen when they find the One Piece, and that's the end of the story. There's not going to be any further conflict of, oh, Emu's still around, and they have to now go to fucking Mary Joa and kill Emu. Like, I just don't see that personally. I think Oda really just wanted to write this story of the 4 emperors fighting each other in a battle with the 4 of them, and who claims this treasure at the end. And he's just kind of wrapping it around all this meaning and all this history to make it really connected to the world, where it's like the fate of the world is wrapped in with who saw it, with who finds it. He's just creating more emphasis, and not just like a little story that like is just private to this group of pirates and the rest of the world doesn't give a shit. Like, it matters who finds the One Piece and that this happens. But the catch about it is that it doesn't matter to Luffy whether, it matters to him that he becomes king of the pirates and claims the One Piece, because that's what he wants to do. But he doesn't give a shit about what it means for the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to be a hero. And I do think that's what separates him from Nika, Joy Boy, and the rest of like this legend that keeps gathering around him. And he's like, oh, I'm sure that has nothing to do with me. Which is so Chad. I fucking love him.
I like it because it's like it plays into that the destined chosen one thing, but it's
right.
like Luffy, like both stories are like, oh yeah, I'm the chosen one, but Luffy just like is so reluctant to even accept that he is a chosen one.
He just doesn't believe it. He just straight up is like, nope, no, that's not me.
He won't believe it too. Like there's not going to be some arc for him where he accepts it, Right. People want that. People want him to have some sort of added responsibility, and I just don't see that in him. Yeah.
I don't think I think he cares, and I think it's like, I think he does care about, saving Wano, for example. And he tells Kinemon why he's doing it. It's not because he's a savior, or not because he's Nika or Joy Boy. It's because it's his friend's country.
Yeah.
That is so fucking important, man. Like, that's what matters. Because that's what's supposed to kind of relating to the reader, is that, like, you're not always going to be the chosen one or the one that's going to save the world or anything.
Yeah.
But you have to, every decision you make should be something that you're doing for another person or just for yourself, or like something that you have personal conviction for, not because someone told you that you're the chosen one or that you have to do this. That's freedom.
There's a whale on the left.
Yeah.
Could that be Laboon?
Yeah, it's hard not to think that, right? Yeah, for sure.
I love that. That'd be so funny.
Even just in the the Roger flashback, Roger and Oda can hear them, and they're like, even whales are happy to hear the news of their savior will be born soon, of like, Neptune will be born soon, and another one will also be born soon. But yeah, fucking the samurai, the Wano people and the ninja here. There's the sun symbol is constantly being shown, and you can see that a lot throughout the story with, like, the sun pirates or various iconography that could be kind of sprinkled throughout. I was thinking that this is a buccaneer, this guy with the winged helmet here. I was thinking this guy's a buccaneer, and then this is a giant.
Yeah. The giant guy is definitely a giant. Like, probably, it's like higher. It even has like Hyruden's like hair.
Oh, for sure. He looks a lot like Loki.
Oh, he does
with the helmet.
Like, never mind.
With the helmet
looks more like Loki. Yeah.
I like Hyrude too. No, for sure.
Yeah, I think. I think that's a really cool. It was a really interesting thing to include. I like. I think it was Ripley. She was saying like. Yeah. It's almost like a child drew it or something.
Yeah, no, and also saying that it's probably something like a child's dream, specifically referring to Frankie being like, all these different races are kind of working together, and she's like, yeah, you don't really see that in contemporary times, so that itself is sort of like a child's dream. So people were reading into that as like what Luffy wants for his at the end of his dream is for people to kind of come together and potentially have a big party is one of the big theories. Is just like he just wants a big party with everybody at the end, and it's like a silly childhood dream or whatever. I like the idea, and it is something that I think he would be capable of, because he is that kind of character, and it's a very Shonen Jump thing where the main character just has this ability to gather everybody around him, friend or foe.
It's a really cool story. I definitely want to read the other translations of the what is it called, the Harley?
Yeah, so the Harley text. So this is the Viz one in kind of this nice font, and they also are courteous about the split here, because when you open the book, right, in the original Japanese, if you read it, like, there has to be that kind of gap in between.
Ah, cool.
So that's Viz in the kind of the more nice font. TCB is very plain and similar. I kind of like OP scans of like the way it's very scratchy and kind of handwritten almost. I have the thing that I lock on is this wording here of "they could never meet again, they could never meet again, they will surely meet again." Like both TCB and Viz, I like. It just lands with a thud, verbally, like
they will
never meet, and they will never meet, and they will surely meet. I just think again is like that's a biblical thing, actually, with Jesus telling the disciples of, now's your time of grief, but I'll see you again, and no one will take away your joy. So I just like, for me, that wording means a lot, but I get in the Japanese they don't say mata or something. At least I don't think they do.
Yeah, it's
it matches the Japanese to say there surely meet.
The chaos, there was emptiness. The inconvenient remnants recall the promised day and hear the voice of the half moon. The sun god dances and laughs, guiding the world to its end. The sun returns and brings a new morning, and they will surely meet. Yeah, that's interesting. I think I guess the colors of Blackbeard and Luffy, like Year 5 Luffy, really kind of played like the yin yang sort of dichotomy of like the white and the black.
Definitely.
I think that makes a lot of sense for whatever the chaos of the death and darkness of the holding the sun is Blackbeard.
Yeah. But I think also that the revelation in these recent chapters, it was also alluded to when Jarl was talking about it. But the fact that it's not the world wasn't destroyed once but twice.
Yeah.
Vegapunk's message is primarily talking about the instance with Joy Boy, and that's where the poneglyphs originate from, and the apology for Joy Boy and Emmett saying, "I couldn't make you king." That's all referring to the second world. But it's interesting that there was an even earlier version, and it just makes sense because like Nika and Joy Boy being kind of separate entities, Joy Boy being an embodiment of Nika, and Nika just being that same sun god through line. That is it. I don't think it's just Joy Boy and Luffy. I think there's probably a lot of descendants, because there was a 100-year period, the Void Century, between 700 and 800 years ago. But then there's another 700 years until the present moment with Roger, who has a straw hat and seems to act a lot like Luffy and has the same dream as Luffy. The only thing he's missing is the gum gum fruit, and he's basically Luffy. How did Shanks know to get that specific fruit from CP9 to steal it from them? Like it doesn't. I don't think it's just a coincidence.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting. So it's like there's a world even before Joy Boy. Joy Boy is the second world, and the third world is
the third world's a prophecy of what's going to happen. Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
and it could have happened at any point between Joy Boy and the Void Century and the present, which is likely going to be the case with Luffy here, because I think it's an ideology of Joy Boy with the straw hat and that particular person that imbues those ideas with the power of Nika and the gum gum fruit specifically, and the will and the but things always get in your way, right? Like if Luffy didn't remember his friends and he just kept going in that downward spiral after he lost Ace and thinking he was weak, I don't even know if the journey would have continued at that point if Jinbei didn't remind him of what he still has.
Yeah.
He still has his friends. I think there's a possibility that the people throughout this period after Joy Boy, or even Joy Boy himself, probably had a similar thing happen to him, like a Sabbaty moment where he lost all his friends and then he tried to make a big change, and the sun spread the fires of war, and he failed. And he had, he reaches that failure and like, what do you still have? it really works in this instance with like Kuma believing in all that and allowing that to happen, to have that Sabaody moment, but causing that Sabaody moment in such a way that he can still potentially bring them back together.
Yeah.
There's also just like the mystery of the giant straw hat in Mary Joa, that giant one. I think there's a something to link with the giants as well. And in Elbaf, there was probably a Roger-like, Luffy-like character there too. I don't know if they've said that the Harley comes from the Void Century like the mural does. I don't know if they've confirmed that or not. But I just think that like Elbaf specifically still having this like culture of everybody wants to be the sun god, everyone knows Nika, and recognize the white form and have learned all that. Them preserving that because they're not part of the world government, and they're them specifically and not like the Kozuki clan or whatever. Wano doesn't have the same. I mean, just the one person is able to read the poneglyphs, like that one person in the lineage in the Kozuki line is able to read them, but it's not like everybody in Wano can. It's not like everybody knows who Nika is in Wano the way they know it the way the Buccaneers know it or the way the Giants know it. So there is definitely something specific and different about Elbaf here that is worth learning more about when it comes to contextualization about Nika and Joy Boy. That would properly set us up for the final arc.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really cool thing, and I think the art's really, really fun to look at. Even just like I'm finding myself getting lost just like looking at this mural.
Oh, for sure.
I guess I just keep like looking at different things. Like you pointed out, like the Enel's kind of ship, and there also being a moon there, I think is really interesting.
Yeah,
like how that could play into it as well.
Well, people seem to be really locked in that of what the meaning of D is the half moon, because they specifically those of the half moon dreamed, those of the moon dreamed. So there's like a delineation there, and so people are thinking
and then
moon,
a half moon is a
half
D.
moon D is D. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's what people are thinking.
But then the full moon, like the moon people won.
Specifically the Lunarians, right?
Lunarians, yeah.
And there's that whole NO cover story, which I looked again. I looked through it, the whole thing, and it really like people always only center on the last 4 or 5 of those panels, where he goes into that cavern, finds the big city, and charges it with electricity, and he just finds a bunch of these like automatons, and he sees like these murals, and that's what they this takes the cake, obviously, but people used to like scrutinize the shit out of just those 2 mural. There's like two pieces of the mural that Eno sees, and you don't really get much out of it, in my opinion, but people have obviously gleaned a lot from it or speculated.
Yeah.
But what stood out to me about it is that, and I don't know if they had as much context at the time for it, because this happened in like the 400s, like chapter 400 or so, when this cover story happened. What I think Oda wants you to notice, the automatons that come alive, that become Enel's army, are the same looking at, like identical automatons as the ones that were sent up from Earth to the moon. So this old guy, who we have no context for, we don't know who this is, built these robots for no discernible reason. They're just hanging out with him. He just built them, and like they remember, like you see from like a flashback almost, that like these little automatons are just hanging out with this guy, and he looks like he's from Wano, but the Japanese dressings could be functionally from anywhere. And the guy dies very comedically by like choking on a fucking bun or whatever.
The best way to go out.
Yeah, because he sees an explosion. They're just like chilling, and then he sees an explosion on the moon and chokes and dies. And it's just like the suddenness is really funny, and you don't really think that much of it. But it's not until you realize that these automatons were on the moon as well, and then you look back and you're like, wait a minute, why was this guy making these robots in the first place? How did he know what they looked like? What are these? And it's just a silly cover story. And that's just the thing that I found really interesting, is everyone focuses on the mural part, but they completely forget this like open question of like what were these robots doing on Earth in the first place, and like what was happening on the moon. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's like were these robots used to frack out I guess the forbidden sun?
Yeah,
You know?
where they get the
factory?
mother flame.
Yeah, like the mother flame, quote unquote, whatever that is.
Sure.
They're used to get this like amazing energy source.
It's the only thing that can power at least one of the ancient weapons. I believe it's confirmed that it's Uranus that they're using, that they wiped out Lulusia with.
Yeah.
I believe it's Uranus. Yeah, it's the only thing that can power those things. At least Uranus. Pluton, we know, is some kind of, it's some invention that has a blueprint to it. And I know people have sort of theorized that Frankie, having burnt the blueprints and have kept it in his possession, may have memorized it. And I don't know if I've heard this or if something I thought of. I don't know, but like the Thousand Sunny potentially being Pluton.
Yeah.
Because he just like surprises people with surprises them with a lot of different things that it can do. So it just suddenly I don't know. It has something to do with it.
And it's also kind of it might be a stretch, but it's the Pluton could be the one in the middle. It's like it's flying in the sky like when they do the coup de burst.
Mm-hmm. I don't know where they confirmed. I don't know where, if it's in the story confirmed or if it's just like an assumption by fans, but the way that like Poseidon is the sea, Pluton is the earth, and Uranus is the sky. I don't know if that's like a hard confirm in the story or not, but and also just with what keeps going in my head is just that like I can't really track from the beginning of like where I was thinking this, but I think it's leading into the point that Luffy, due to his adventures and meeting the people, will inevitably be the one that controls all three ancient weapons. Because he's already friends with Poseidon, who is literally Shirahoshi. Like, we know it's a living mermaid that's born every couple hundred years. We know Shirahoshi is Poseidon. And he's friends with her. As for Pluton and Uranus, I don't remember of like the connections of them. But I think because Pluton had a connection to Alabasta because it was like written on one of the poneglyphs. I know that like I think the first time we heard about Pluton was from Crocodile, or maybe that was Uranus. I don't remember.
Yeah,
it's either Pluton or Uranus. I think it's Uranus maybe, because the other thing with Pluton is that like Pluton is underneath Wano or something like that, right?
Yeah, they said it was there.
Yeah, it was at Wano. So like also just the fact that Momonosuke and Oden, just the Kozuki clan in general, was able to hear Zoe, the elephant, as well as the like there's just the hidden voice or whatever that's like with the sea beast as well, that they could hear the sea beasts. Luffy can hear the sea beast and Zoe, this lineage or whatever. I think Momo is going to be responsible for Pluton in some way, connected to Pluton and able to control it or something. And Vivi is going to be the one with Uranus or whatever if that's the third one. For the fact of her being a member of the D clan, Emu wants her, and this connection that Alabasta has, and this like kind of key connection that they're the only original nation that didn't join the 20. Like this thing with D Lily, she matters in some significant way.
Yeah.
So I just feel like him being so loyal, being so loyally allied with Vivi, Momo, and Shirahoshi, through no reason of like, oh, because you have connection to the ancient weapon. Luffy doesn't give a shit about that. He's just friends with
Yeah, and he's friends with so many other rulers too, like
exactly
Rebecca as well and stuff like that.
Right. I just think those three characters, to me, and this is just the form of it. It feels like that's where that could be leading in terms of the ancient weapons being utilized in some way.
Utilized by specific characters. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Because that's how we get to care about them. I don't really care about these ancient weapons, but I care about Shirahoshi. I care about Momo. I care about Vivi.
Yeah,
he's able to. That's how he gets the reader to care about stuff. Is character first.
What do you think about the character above the Loki figure? There's like the robot-looking character.
Yeah,
it kind of reminds me, of Joy Boy's robot, right?
Definitely.
Right? The post-mortem hockey. DS.
Right, and it's like I couldn't make you king. Emmett was a part of it. So I know people are. I know Archer specifically has divided this mural into thirds, and they're thinking, oh, the heart. This third's the first world. This with the tree, especially because the second world brings up like the forest god tamed demons and the sun spread the fires of war. So they're thinking that like the forest god, whatever that's supposed to refer to, bore the devil fruits.
Yeah.
But they're thinking like the mural is divided in thirds, like the Harley's divided into thirds. But I don't know. I'm not fully convinced about that, because I mean, if this is a prophecy of the third thing, oh no. I was just thinking like, what then would the robot represent? Frankie is a big robot.
Yeah,
Frankie,
I thought
Frankie giant robot. Oh, my
and
God.
look at what Frankie's wearing, bro.
Yeah, it is what he's wearing.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, but Frankie's so big in this frame. I'm like, he's not that important in the story, bro. He doesn't do anything in this story.
Wait a minute. I thought.
Oda's finally giving him
do
something to do. He's finally, this is like the first thing he's done since like Dressrosa. So shout out.
And he didn't really do anything.
He just looked at something. He looked at
something,
which is he hasn't done anything like 500 chapters.
Fuck.
Which it's fine.
No, I was reflecting on this too, because it's like the same with Chopper, and to me, I'm just like,
even Chopper's done more, dude. Chopper.
No, it's not competition. But but like, Chopper's not pulling weight like Brook is,
Yeah.
Or like Sanji is, or like Zoro is, or whatever.
Well, I feel like Chopper was, a lot of the stuff Chopper was doing in Wano was important with him.
Sure.
Like, him curing people of the poison and stuff.
Oh, for sure. It's not nothing. Yeah, but I don't know. I just think like that's a whole different discussion. I was going to say it's just that, like, I think the way Oda writes things is like, I did my thing with this character, and like, yeah, I'll give them some good stuff in the future and stuff, but like, the thing that I made them for, that I thought would be cool, is their story that happened already. So like, the best, it might just be that like the best stuff we get for Chopper is Drum Island. And am I okay with that? Honestly, kind of, yeah, because it's still great. It's fucking Drum Island. It's incredible. Am I okay with Frankie, the best thing for him being in Water 7 Ennie's lobby? Yeah, I love Water 7 Ennie's. It's my favorite arc. Sure, why not? I'm just like, I guess maybe it's cope, but like, I'm just kind of just being at peace with not thinking the best is yet to come with some of these characters.
Yeah, I think that's a very rational way to think, because it's really hard to top. Like, their backstory is like, as well as like their first introduction. Like, it's really hard to top that.
For sure.
And that's like not where the story is anymore. Like, Oda's not going to give these characters those sort of moments. Right. I feel like the last time we've had like a moment like that, like comparable like that, is probably the Sanji versus Luffy thing in Whole Foods.
That definitely brought a certain level of expectation for fans that like, oh, Wano is Zoro's arc the way that Whole Cake was Sanji's, and that's not.
Yeah, and it's like
not what happened.
I was thinking similarly for Elbaf, but from the way it's been going, I don't. Usopp's definitely getting more screen time, which
I think he's got great moments in Elbaf specifically so far.
Yeah, there's some good moments, but I don't think it's going to be his arc, which,
it's not going to be the way he got the stuff he got in Water 7. I don't know if it's going to be topped.
I feel like that's the stuff he got in Water 7 is the best part of all of One Piece. So
it is,
in my opinion.
Yeah, no, totally. So I think you're not wrong about that.
It's like the character writing, I don't think is going to get topped in that aspect, because Oda's not as interested in that, I think. He just has all this deep lore that he's trying to focus on more, which is interesting. I'm very interested in it, which is happy to say I'm not a One Piece hater right now. And,
hell yeah, we're excited. Oh, who do you think about Shaggy or Mosa? The
Shaggy or Mosa?
The person that Loki was talking to.
Okay, I don't know. I genuinely I don't know who you're talking about.
We don't know. So in 1134, which you probably blacked out because it's your least
1134. Okay,
because it's the chapter. Yeah. Well, in there, Loki is talking with somebody on a Den Mushi that is very like beardy and shaggy. So I think that's why he calls him Mosa, or Viz translates it to Shaggy. We don't know who this is, and it is somebody that Loki says they've never met before, and yet it feels like, we've talked for a long time. They seem very polite. They seem kind of nice. He was like, I'm sorry what happened to you. If that was me, I would have razed it to the ground and slaughtered a lot of them. And so it kind of goes to show that this is somebody in a position of power, somebody that had the ability to do something, it didn't. And they're like, oh, I don't want that much. And they mentioned that, like, Loki's like, I think you hide your kindness. And he's like, don't say that. Don't shut up.
Yeah.
So this is like a pen pal of sorts that Loki has. And I had no idea who this could be. And I did see one, Greg, who's on One Piece podcast. And he's been on a couple of, like, One Piece related TV shows like Knowledge King, and he's gotten the signature from Oda. He was also the one of the live action coordinators. Not getting it together, but like in terms of lore accuracy, or like making it to the spirit of One Piece. That's not One Piece. He kind of helped with that. He was an advisor.
Yeah. No, I've listened to a bit of the One Piece podcast. I know.
Okay,
Greg.
Greg.
I know him,
he thinks it's Shirahoshi.
What? You can't give me this preamble and then you're like, this guy's really reputable, has the dumbest theory ever.
It wasn't my intention. I could obviously would let him speak for it, but like, from when I recall,
like Shirahoshi, I'm trying to remember what happened in Fishman, but Shirahoshi would talk to someone on a Den Mushi. Is that what happened? Because I remember she would spend time alone in her room.
Yeah,
right?
She's been isolated for a long time. I could be wrong, but I think his presumption is just the way that the person talked. What this situation that Loki is referring to, where he's like, if I was you, I would have raised it to the ground and slaughtered a lot of them. When it comes to Shirahoshi and the incident with Otohime, because she's Poseidon, she knows she's Poseidon, has this ability, is capable of raising Fishman Island to the ground, based on what happened, and the fact that she knew Hody was the one that killed her mother. It's such a powerful moment that this episode that's going to come out this tonight is when she reveals that she knew it was Hody the whole time and didn't say anything, because her mother told her, whoever did this, don't feel resentment towards them. And so she didn't. She kept her mouth shut. And everyone just like breaks down and be like, I can't believe you, like how brave she is for doing that. Because it's true. I think it would have caused more mayhem and turmoil within themselves if they did that. So I think that's what I think that's what's convincing for me. That's what convinces me that, like, when Loki's like, if I were you, I would have fucking slaughtered a lot. I would have just gone scorched earth. And she's like, I didn't want that much. But like, I mean, it could be the King of Dressrosa, but I think he was powerless to do something like that, and I don't know really who else it could be. It'd be fucking nuts if it was someone like Kaido.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
So that moment,
and it has
true
to be,
fear
and it
you
has to
mentioned
be
before, is that still what motivates you? It's like, what character has experienced true fear in the story that we've seen?
Yeah.
Is it
and
an
had
established
the
character?
ability, right? I feel like it would have to be. I would be surprised if it was somebody new, because it's like, okay, wait, who's this?
But then you're
Why do
also
I care?
talking about Oda loves to give us the left turn.
It's true.
We get
It's
another
true.
named character that I won't remember.
Nah, it's true. No, it's true.
But
Although I haven't heard
I
it,
think
so.
I think that's interesting. That it could be Shirahoshi. I'm just like, I think that makes sense with the argument, but also like there's so many questions about how the fuck does Shirahoshi have a Denden Mushi which connects to Loki.
Yeah, I don't know how they.
Elbaf isn't connected. Well, it's also Fishman isn't affiliated with the world government, right? It's like, right?
Yeah, they had only just it's true. I think they had only just gotten invited to Reverie.
Yeah, so
but they're not one of the 20 kingdoms.
Yeah, so it's like, do they share that sort of kinship because they're both not connected? Do they have some sort of connection there? And it seemed like there was that one point where all the what's it called? The giants were excited about meeting mermaids and like asking Jinbei about fishmen and stuff like that. They seemed like really excited. So I guess it wouldn't. And there's also the setup of Loki, like he was traveling the seas, right?
Yeah, no,
And
he
then-
had that.
and then
He had that
Shanks-
deal. He had that deal with Lin, and trying to marry Lola. That was the first time we learned about Loki. Was that deal? But he was trying to marry Lola, and Big Mom was trying to arrange that marriage, and Lola deserted, and kind of reneged.
I didn't even know he
reneged
was
on the
mentioning
deal.
that. But
Yeah, that was the first time we heard about him.
Yeah, and I think that definitely makes because I forgot that like Loki traveled the seas after Harold died, and then Shanks captured him. So
Right.
it definitely maybe she went to met Shirahoshi at some point.
Yeah, I really
But-
don't know.
but they
I think
also
it's, I think
haven't
it's.
met
I don't
face
think
to
it's very
face.
likely either. I agree that it's kind of hard to believe that it would be Shirahoshi, like having a pen pal like that. I really don't know, and I do think it could be reveal. It's also just a mystery of why he has that Dendamushi in the first place. Like they chained him up. They chained him up, and then did this thing crawl up to him? Like, why is that there? Why does he have anyone to talk to? I think all that's going to be revealed in the flashback, but we'll have to see.
I assume it's someone older.
I was thinking that too. When I first read it without like having heard any voice or whatever, I was thinking it was like an older gentleman.
I think older gentleman, but the way it's written makes like because there's a certain way Oda will write women characters.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand why like Greg would instantly go to somewhere like Shirahoshi because it definitely kind of reads like her. Like
it does.
This trembling
Right.
woman, but also at the same time like
what the fuck?
do you know like when Loki was captured? I can't remember.
It was 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Specifically 6 years ago, and that's how Shanks became an emperor. And I don't even think the timeline has been confirmed in terms of when Loki killed Harold. I don't think
it was 14 years ago.
It was 14? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
14 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, then for 6-7 years, Loki just
Yeah.
traveled the seas.
Right. And presumably kind of like the king of Elbaf almost, like de facto. Even though they probably didn't recognize, they didn't like, they couldn't do anything to stop him. Like no one was strong enough. There's something about, because I believe the first time that he's introduced, when they're telling Robin and the rest who he is on the ship at the time, I think they said that he ate the fruit that like they had that like was kind of passed down from that specific lineage of giants that I guess Harold had or something.
Yeah.
So he has some power. It has something to do with, I think, the fact that he's blind. Like he has the bandages, and yet he can still recognize what Shamrock looks like. That he's like, you look like Shanks. He has bandages over his eyes.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at that now.
It might be a hockey situation where he just kind of detects it as advanced
He
observations.
has eyesight
like,
hockey. That's crazy.
I don't
that's
know.
Next level awareness hockey. What's it called?
Yeah.
Observation.
Observation, right? But like,
my God,
I don't know if
eyesight,
I don't
dude.
know if it's that or just something else. But it is interesting that he knows what he looks like, and
Oh
can
my-
see things happening, and as if he had eyes. But he's.
Do you
but he
think?
can't- yeah.
Do you think Stevie Wonder had like next level observation?
Well,
hockey?
wouldn't you think about like Daredevil, who was a blind lawyer, and because he has advanced senses everywhere else, like the hearing, the sound waves form objects, and that's how he's able to quote unquote see. I believe that's how Daredevil's powers work. Is that
I see.
all his other power, all his hearing in particular, is so fine-tuned that he can detect the sound waves.
Yeah,
and,
but
like,
that would not explain why Loki.
I don't think it would explain Loki. I don't think so either. That's true.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Loki's such a cool. I like Loki a lot. I
Oh,
think his
yeah.
character is good.
When you said that like Gaban was the first character that like you gave
I
a shit
forgot about
I was
Loki.
like,
I forgot
damn.
about Loki. I forgot about Loki. He's goated. I like him.
Yeah,
a lot.
I like Loki a lot.
He's a
And
really good character design, and his personality is really fun.
It really made a difference. Because again, it was that thing of like, I don't really know if I give a shit about this Loki guy, and then he showed him, and I was like, oh, I give a shit. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I like
a combination of fucking Doflamingo and Kaido, but he's a good
yeah,
guy.
yeah, he definitely
Like,
gives Doflamingo
shut
vibes.
the fuck up, dude. That's so sick.
Yeah, I definitely like Gaban's wife is pretty hot too. So
Yeah, Ripley.
shout out her.
She's great.
Her character design.
And I also liked more development with Colin.
Yeah, how he fought Luffy or
realizing that he's like a delinquent at the school. And he fought Luffy, trying to be more of the old Warriors ways. And I do think there's going to be some compromise, because I think the reason Harold is trying to distance himself, like, he ripped his own horns off, and he was particularly strong. He was one of the ancient giants. There was something about him that he realized, and that's a very like Fisher Tiger thing or Otahime thing, to add the connections to Fishman here. But I think it was something about, it's like with Fisher Tiger, rejecting the blood because his very body rejects the blood. He's like, I can't, even if it means me dying because I'm not accepting the human blood, like, I can't love humans ever. And the despair in that could be very similar to Harold, his struggle with his ancient giant blood and this idea that the races shouldn't mix. And yet he had a kid with that other giant that bore Hyrodine.
Yeah.
So there's a struggle with that on his end too. That he's like forcibly rips his own horns off and has this mixed race kid, but it doesn't allow him in the castle for reasons, I guess. I do think there is something sus about him for sure, in terms of like, we don't have the full story of like why Loki did what he did, or even if Loki was the person that did it. But there is, especially since they gave us the image of him and the portrait and everything, I was like, oh no, this is a cool guy. I think this is going to be like a backstory character on the vein of like Fisher Tiger or these other guys that are like, oh no, why did they have to die?
The Fishman flashback will be legendary. I'm just excited because like I think what the Herald, the Harley and like this mural means is like, we're guaranteed like 2 more flashbacks type shit. Like, we'll get a flashback of the first world and the second world. Like, I think most definitely. So
it'll be interesting to see how he handles that and what he decides to focus on, because it's not like like, I know people were disappointed with what he did with Kaido. They were kind of expecting a flashback on the level of Big Mom. Yeah. It is sort of like what he wants to explore. I think there's a possibility that the flashback could be Shanks related. It's like we kind of don't fully know. Like, I guess, no, I shouldn't say that. I was gonna be like, we didn't fully anticipate the Kuma flashback being what it was, but we did. Like, the minute they showed the fucking memory ball, it's like, oh yeah, that's gonna be the Kuma flashback. All right.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the flashback for this arc, and that was pretty well telegraphed.
And the Kuma flashback was great.
Yeah,
I think definitely it's just the flashback has to do with
You think
Loki.
it's gonna be Loki Harold? Yeah, for
Loki
sure.
and Harold, like it's setting up towards that, and I
think so too, and
it'll be satisfying.
It'll have Shanks involved because I think it is gonna have to show Shanks capturing him. Yeah. I think it's gonna include that, but it will be interesting in the way. I always love the flashback implementation is one of my favorite things about One Piece, of just the way Oda decides to show the audience, like how does he, at what point does he introduce it, in what method does he show it, like, are we learning about it or is another character learning about it with us? The mechanics in which he does this is always really fascinating, and it's something I kind of want to try to make a full video about at some point, but I want to wait for the story to be finished for that, to kind of look at the different ways he handles this sort of thing, because there is repetition and a lot of connection and a lot of theme overlap.
Yeah, like, I guess in regards to that, I'm like, when I think about like Shanks capturing Loki, I instantly think of Garp capturing Roger, and like Garp kind of knowing, right?
Yeah.
Knowing like what, like, Roger isn't that bad of a guy, like there's more, and
also that he's kind of giving him up. He's giving himself up.
He's giving himself up. So like I don't know, that it's definitely not direct. Like, I don't think Loki gave himself up because he hates Shanks, but there's definitely something else going on, I guess, for Shanks to do that.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it is a sort of situation similar to how Luffy protects like Fishman Island and Dressrosa, where like Shanks saved Elbaf, and like they kind of view him as like a higher figure in their society that
Mm-hmm.
is like a protector of sorts.
Yeah.
Right?
For some reason, you reminded me or made me think. It makes me realize that like Shanks probably has, or not probably, I shouldn't say that, but like I had the thought of like, wait, what if Shanks already has all 4 poneglyphs, road poneglyphs, and he already knows what the One Piece is? Because he was like, well, when we saw him at Wano, he was like, hey Ben, why don't I think it's about time we get the One Piece? And he was waiting for this. And he just had a feeling that the 3 of them were going to get collected, and he already has the one that the Burn Scar Man has. Like we don't know that he doesn't have that. We know that Blackbeard doesn't have it, because they were looking for that one. But then you would think of like the idea of Shanks already having that one in his pocket, the way Roger already had the one taken from Linlin, and he's like, I think I know where the other one is, and it was at Fishman Island. There was a road poneglyph at Fishman Island, and that one just got abducted at some point. The way that he already had the one and they just had to collect the other 3, it's possible that Shanks has the one and then he just took the other 3 from Kid, and he might already have it right now. I think it's a little separate. I think it's a little separate from that, but like I'm sorry, for whatever reason, the things you said about Shanks, I was like, oh my God, what if he already has it?
I think that could make sense. Well, I think there's obviously a reason. Shanks might also know that like you kind of need Luffy to unlock One Piece.
Yeah, no, it's true.
I
think you're right, 100%.
You kind of need the Sun God key.
Yeah, it's and also just like, what did he ask? What did he ask a question to Roger that he burst into tears from hearing from Roger that Odin overheard? Because he was in no rush to find the One Piece. He was like, we're gonna get older and we're gonna find it ourselves. So he was at peace not going to Laugh Tale with them. But it wasn't until after they came back and he asked the question to Roger that he burst out crying. He definitely knows the components, and Roger realizing that we were too early. I think it's that like something to do with Roger realizing that like what was on the final island wasn't complete, and they're all laughing at what's in front of them, and that's why they call it Laugh Tale.
What if it's so to unlock the One Piece they need to make a key, but there's no key in the world that accesses it. But Luffy, he's made of rubber. He could bend his body to make a key.
Well, but like, wouldn't that just mean that you just need all you need is number 3 as Mr. 3?
Mr. 3 is the One Piece.
Mr. 3 could just do that.
Mr. 3 was the One Piece all along. All along was Mr. 3.
No, this goes into again of like, and I said this in the previous podcast, of this fantasy of like the cross guild making up of like all the really important characters that aren't on Luffy, Blackbeard, or Shanks' crew. So it's just like all the former warlords are in one crew, and then Mr. 3's there too.
That would be fun as fuck.
Just save the day once again. Like, God, I cannot fucking wait for that last arc. I'm gonna just like, no one talk to me. This is my person. This is One Piece is my complete personality from now on. When that final saga happens.
Yeah,
and the 4 of them are like on one fucking island, and it's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know.
Gosh.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on the God Knights thing. I'm just kind of.
Oh yeah.
It's just it's this new. I don't know. I just think there's too many.
I think it's possible that like he sends a 3rd one, and then they realize something else is happening. Okay, send another one. Okay, send all of them. And he might take care of all the God Knights in this arc, the way that he took care of the Gorosei and Egghead.
I just don't want there to be another faction, like, because I know there's.
Yeah.
I'm just afraid of Oda at the end of the arc being like, well, actually, there's the super God Knights. They've been around for 100 years. And
why do you sound like
Luffy.
Trump when you say that?
They've been around for 100 years.
100 years.
Find the One Piece.
They're very strong.
They're very strong.
Very necessary to the story.
Drill, baby, drill.
I set them up in chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
It was the mountain. It was the mountain people the whole time.
It was actually Shamrock Shake who went to the Gorosei. I just don't want another faction. And I know that there, like you did say that, like, Shamrock was like a silhouette when like Vegapunk was showing like
And who
when
will
he was
find the
talk-
One Piece, and he matters in that.
So
core
he
group.
matters, so he'll be around for a while, and he Shanks his brother.
That's
But
what's
it's like-
interesting for me, though. It's interesting that none of the Garling is there, but he's one of the Gorosei now. But none of the other Gorosei were there.
Yeah.
Imu's there. And that panel for me, I just think, I do kind of believe the final arc is going to be something that Oda cuts between two different things. I do think there's going to be this final confrontation with the 4 Yonko. They're squaring up. This is what Luffy cares about. This is all he cares about. He doesn't really care about like the fate of the world or something. He doesn't even know who Imu is. The majority of people don't know who Imu is. They're just like the singular mission and everything. And they're going to square up, and that's going to be who finds the One Piece. And that matters. But then in terms of like satisfying a character arc for Sakazuki, for Kobe, for Sabo, for Dragon, for Garling, for Imu, these characters, and for Aokiji, the people who were there in that. And what's interesting is because it's different for Aokiji, because Aokiji's with Blackbeard. But like this other group that's not going to be on that island with them, the 4 of them, those 4 crews, everybody else is going to, fuck each other up. Like I do think like Sword is going to kind of rise up and go against with the rest of the Navy, and the revolutionaries are going to make their move, and just everybody's going to kind of attack at once and settle things in their own way. But yeah, I think that could very well happen where like Oda just kind of cuts between 2 different things happening, the way he did in Egghead, for example. Whereas the Egghead stuff, but then he cut away to a series of stuff that's happening elsewhere in the world. I think it's very possible that he could try to do both in one arc and settle everything at once. But
Yeah.
I just don't expect like the 4 of them to settle things, and then they find the One Piece, and then they do another final battle after we know why am I still reading this when I already know what the One Piece is? Like, I just don't think the story continues that much further. Maybe another like a resolution volume, or like an extra chapter or something. But like, it's the One Piece and that's the end. I just think that's how it should happen.
Yeah. And I guess with that, we end the pirating for today.
Close the chapter.
We can close the chapter. We'll see you guys in another fucking 3 months or whatever.
That'll be fun. And by that time, let's do it when the anime comes back.
When is that?
In like 50 days or so.
Okay, sure.
At least. Or
sounds good.
At least later on. But we'll see how many chapters go in.
We'll see how
feel
many.
it out.
Is Oda on break right now? I have no fucking clue, dude.
It is a break right now, but there will
Okay.
be spoilers for the next chapter on Monday.
Okay, well, I am not gonna look at them, and I'm
Nope,
not gonna read One Piece.
neither will I.
I'm probably not gonna read One Piece until we talk next. So.
Honestly, okay. I'll keep that in mind, and I'll build up a nice cachet. Yeah, it's because it's gonna be a case where like there's something that should be settled right now. Like, hold on,
Yeah.
like we're in the middle of something, and it looks like we're settling down, or we're just getting into a flashback, or maybe something like that. It was like, oh, it looks like we're into a new phase of the arc.
Yeah, you can remind me. You can give me.
We'll be like, all right, Jack, time for you to catch up.
Jack, it's time. So yeah,
It's time. I'm calling it now.
Well, thank
right.
you guys for listening.
Thank you guys.
See you.
Yeah, peace.
Bye.